How did you earn the marker? Tell us how you earned the marker.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, part of what people want to see in Renatas is that it works, right? So, when you become a product of the product and take action on the things that, and I hope I am following your question correctly, Brigham, and you can show that the product works and that you work and you're getting results, and basically provide value. Essentially, um, that's when you, what did you say? Earn the mark?
Yeah, earn the marker. Earn the marker.
Earn the marker, so to
Yeah,
speak, because you are, practicing what you preach, and you're showing people that not only does our product work, but you're working, you're making it work, right? You're having results, you're having success.
I love it. So if I can summarize that in one little axiom, it's the product works and you work the product. You're showing that proof because you are a product of your product. And the more you embody that, the easier it is for people to say, oh, I can trust that person. Oh, I know them. I like them. I'm going to do this because they're doing it. And it's way easier to be a leader from front rather than saying, hey, you just go do that. That's totally fine. You go ahead and make that happen. So I love it. Tamara, did you have any other examples of how you have earned the marker, where you get on the stages or you have shared your experiences?
You nailed it, Brigham. I mean, no, really, it's just when you lead from the front and you show people that you're doing things and you have success and basically taking action. That's, in my experience, that's when people want to um, give you the mic.
I I love that. Now, can you do this from day one, guys? Can you actually get the mic from day one because you're taking action? Yes. Did you know that? You can do that. Now, you're not going to necessarily be an epics presenter, but you can share what you've done. You can share the actions you've taken. You can share, hey, here's how I'm a product of the product. And from day one, you can share your own experience. You can share your take on whatever you have experienced in the classes. You can say, hey, here's what I've done. I loved how Alex Rep brings this up at regionals. He had someone come in after like a week of him being in the courses. And I go, well, what has it done for you? You're brand new. And he's like, oh, let me show you. And he grabbed out his notebook. And he's like, well, I learned this. I had no idea about that. And then oh, this was also a really cool takeaway. Oh, and this and this. And went through 5 or 6 or 10 pages of notes. He's like, that's what it's done for me. And the guy's like, oh, that's a lot of value. I didn't know that. And what's cool is you don't necessarily have to be like the deal king to be able to say, Renatus is working for me because I'm working it. Tamara, you said, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing 10 deals laughing out loud. That's true. Just talk about what you're learning, who you're hanging out with, and what they're doing. Yeah, there's shared credibility as well. I love that. Thank you so much, Tamara. Now we get to have some awesome experiences today about how Mr. Dane Clark has been able to go and earn the marker. Now, there's one thing about earning the marker in our own community. It's another when you can say, I've earned that marker and be able to show up on other people's stages, be able to provide value in such a way that people invite you back. And that's what we're going to be talking about with him a little bit more. This is really, if you've never watched the class, that's the done deal formula, we're basically going to summarize that a little bit, where you are going to be borrowing audiences, buying audiences, helping other people in such a way that they want you to speak for them. And when you earn the marker and you are on their stage, you want to honor their stage, you want to give value, you want to really collaborate with them. And he has done such a great job at doing this. He's spoken not just at Renatus, but in multiple facets all the way through his career. And when you are the man with the marker or the woman with the marker, there is an increased responsibility and there's an increased value that comes from your words and credibility. So we're going to talk about how he's done that, why he's done that, and have a lot of fun while we're doing it. So without any further ado, Mr. Dane Clark, how you doing, my friend?
What's up, guys? Happy Wealth Wednesday. I hope you
Yes.
are all enjoying it as usual. And Brigham, I love that you texted me this last night, because then I had like dreams about it.
Oh, I love it.
And I couldn't get it off my mind. And I love that it stretches any person to obligate yourself to do something, share something, and it actually plays perfectly into this topic of of getting the marker or earning the marker, if you will. But a couple of major thoughts, and I even wrote a couple of them down. And Brigham, you basically touched on this, but I want to reiterate that it only takes one story. When you join, everybody joins Renatus with, let's call it 0.0 credibility. And it only takes one story to go from 0.0 to maybe arguably 0.1 credibility, because knowledge begins giving you credibility and just sheer knowledge. No success stories yet. No, massive, like, we bought a house for 200,000 and sold it for 300,000. Like, it doesn't take something like that to go from credibility 0.0 to 0.1. It just takes knowledge. And one of the things that and I've shared this story before, but I want to bring this up in this light. Some of you have heard me say the phrase, blow your nose in public, and not like this nose, these nose. Blow these nose in public. Things that you've learned. And that actually was first introduced to me by my father. And when I was a kid, he would always say, don't blow your nose in public. Well, which actually makes more sense. Don't blow your nose in public. And he was talking about these nose. And he was basically, what he was trying to say is, don't become a bragger. Don't become a like, oh, what is it? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, kind of a thing. And so he's not wrong. But I remember, express rather than impress. Yeah. I remember at the time I needed to hear that, most likely, from the angle that my father was giving it. And because he's not wrong. I don't I don't want to say that about my father's advice. But there was a moment when I was just like, oh my gosh, like, the only reason let's call it, got the marker. The only reason I got the marker is because I started sharing what I know to people, and not in a braggy way, but in a way that people were like, some people have heard me call it the puppy dog head tilt, where you'll share a piece of information and someone's like, wait, what? You pay off a house in a third of the time without having to double down on mortgage payments and stuff. In fact, I just did this last weekend, sharing about velocity banking. And instead of coming from a like, yeah, like, look how cool I am, it's just like, dude, I just did this thing, or in my case, I've been doing this thing for years and years and years, and now I don't have to anymore because it doesn't really affect me. The only debt I have is on real estate, home type things, income earning. And in fact, the only non-income earning, only have a very few. Let's see, arguably two things that are non-income producing that I have debt on, and one of them is my house, and the other one's a moving house. And so anyway, at the end of the day, was sharing just this last weekend in the light of like, check this out. This is the coolest thing since sliced bread. And I kid you not, the gentleman that was on the other end of this, like, he had the puppy dog head tilt. He's got a full beard, a lot bigger than my own. Some of you guys have seen that I've been working on this for like 34 years, and it's just like, we'll get there. Anyway, so he's just like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that, because he was complaining about he owns a car dealership, and he's complaining about how he's like, yeah, I spent $60,000 in interest last year. Just by my, they call it a car flooring line, which is basically a line of credit. And he's like, yeah, I spent $60,000 on my teeny tiny car dealership. Like, he's not big at all. He's a small business by every stretch of the imagination. And he's like, I spent 60 grand. He's like, where I could have put $60,000? in my teeny tiny car dealership. And so I just started saying like, oh my gosh. And I was sharing it as if it was the first time. Like I had just learned this and I was just like, dude, I learned this thing. And I started talking about like, you know, I never used the phrase velocity banking. I basically just started saying like, yeah, I figured out how interest works. And I started talking about daily simple average, where they take the average of the balance. And if you dump a ton of money on a line of credit, then it lowers your daily simple average. So even if you have a high interest rate, you could effectively lower your effective interest rate because they take that average. And he was just soaking it up. And so even in that case, just because I had one story, and you know, my velocity banking story, like sure, it was kind of cool, but it wasn't as cool as most people's velocity banking stories that I've heard. People in Renatas have way more amazing velocity banking stories than I have, like way. But still, like I said, it just takes one story to go from that credibility 0.0 to 0.1. And here he is like scratching his beard, like, oh my gosh, like this is making sense. Why am I not doing this? Puppy dog head tilt. Oh my goodness. And so that first and foremost, like that's what came to mind is blow your nose in public, lovingly, of course, in a way that you're not necessarily bragging, but in a way that's just like, dude, this is the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, can you imagine what the person who invented sliced bread, can you imagine how that person probably reacted? It was probably in a way, guys, look at this. Look at this bread. It's perfectly sliced. Has anybody here ever bought like a loaf of bread and actually had to slice it themselves by hand? If you've never experienced that, go try and find a loaf of bread that is not pre-sliced and slice it and take a picture of it and send it to me, because I want to see if you are able to get two slices exactly the same or close to it. My mom used to make homemade bread, and so and she would be like, "Oh, if we slice it, then it goes bad faster and it gets moldy." And so no, we don't slice our bread. We slice it right before you eat it. And you keep the end closed, the where the cut is. And I kid you not, like I I don't think I ever made a sandwich where I had two slices of bread the same size. And so sliced bread was a big deal. Like the phrase we have of like, oh, it's the best thing since sliced bread. It's a big deal. And I bet you the reason you have so many people that only know sliced bread, have never even experienced non-sliced bread, is because exactly that. You never have the same slice of bread twice if you're cutting it manually. And so I bet you the guy that was selling sliced bread machines that slice it, Google it or YouTube it, these machines that actually slice, I bet you that guy was freaking excited. Like, guys, look at this. Look at these bread slices. And people got on board because of how excited he was to share it with other people. And so if you have that same excitement, blowing your nose in public, if you will, these nose, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, this is pretty cool. They will match you. They will match your emotion. Either way, if you're just like, oh, well, if you're just like sharing, I learned velocity banking thing and this, they will match your emotion. And so I feel like that was the number one reason why people wanted to give me a marker, was because I'm not sure if I've ever shared this experience before, but we had Michael up at the house. Michael Huggins was here last weekend. Yeah, last weekend. And and we were reminiscing some stuff, and one of the things that had come up was the very first time that Michael ever saw me on stage. And it was just as a testimonial. Someone else was doing the epic, and I had one story that I could share. And Michael Huggins watched me give my little testimonial blip before the person who was doing the actual presentation came back up on stage. And I kid you not, Michael came up to me afterwards and said, Dane, if you ever present like that in front of my room, you are not welcome here. You are not welcome to come back to a Renatus event if you ever speak like that again. And so there I was thinking like, yeah, I did a good job. And they asked me to come and give a testimonial. Right. Some of you don't know Michael before Michael is the way he is now. Michael was a little rough around the edges. Those who know have known Michael for years and years and years. Michael was a little rough around the edges, right? Thank you. Yeah, Pat knows. Pat knows. And so he comes up and just destroys me. I almost never came back because of how, he basically was just like, Dane, you are a piece of crap. I do not want you in front of my guests. And that was why. I probably had my head down the whole time. I was probably talking to the floor. I probably had zero emotion. It was just like, yeah, we bought this house and it was probably put people to sleep at the end of the day. And so that was the first, let's call it, that was my first dose, if you will, of people will match your excitement. And he basically accused me of saying, like, you put everyone to sleep right before we put the presenter on. And he had to struggle and try and wake them up to get them back into engagement to finish the presentation. And so he's like, you sucked energy from the room. And so, but yes, I did learn. And so it was obviously I am where I am today because of that kind of criticism. Yeah, Michael doesn't typically give that kind of criticism anymore, but let's just say at least it worked. There were maybe some people that he might have given similar criticism to, and they probably never came back. I don't know. I guess I wanted it bad enough that I came back and realized, you know what? We're going to figure this out. I'm going to learn how to be excited and share that excitement because it is technically, what do they call that? Contagious. Excitement is contagious. And so I think that was the reason I started getting invited back because I took it seriously. And so even though I only had my one story, because I started focusing on that excitement, people wanted to give me the marker. And it was interesting because over the years, because of that excitement, and I had a few extra stories, maybe I had credibility like 1.0 at some point, but because I had excitement that was contagious. And again, I tell you that story about Michael because I wasn't born with it. I didn't join Renatus with excitement at all. I mean, I came from milking cows and roofing commercial buildings that literally it's like laying carpet in the sun, elevated 30 feet in the air. It is not fun. It's technically 10 degrees warmer on a roof than it is on the ground. And so it's like laying carpet in a sauna, football field size roofs. Anyway, that's where I had come from. And so I did not have it. I had to learn it. I had to, let's call it force it, fake it till you make it and earn that. And so that's, if I could give any advice, that would be it, is be excited. Even if you have the credibility 0.1, you just have your story of, I learned this. You still technically have credibility higher than the next person that you're talking to because they haven't learned this stuff. And so you still have that credibility because knowledge to me is credibility. But just make sure that you focus on the excitement part. And people will beg you to talk to their guests. One thing that you'll notice when I step into any event, that I do my absolute best to treat every single human that crosses my path with excitement, as if I had just met an old friend that I hadn't seen in years and years and years, even if I've never met them in my life, or if I have, It's like, oh my gosh, how are you doing? What's going on? It's how you make them feel. That will technically go farther than me being able to stand up and say, yeah, I've helped 1,000 people do a real estate deal or get into a real estate deal, make some money, or I've bought 200 and some odd houses. That goes way further than being able to stand up there and just, beat chest and look at what I did, right? The excitement is more contagious. Now, sure, if you add excitement to, like, look at this, we helped 1,000 people. Sure. It can only get better as you go. But I will say it is more important to spread excitement than it is to beat the chest with credibility 100.5, whatever. So I hope that makes perfect sense there. A couple other thoughts. And on the credibility, like 0.1, one thing that I've done for years and years and years now is track my wins. That's actually one reason why I think it was a couple weeks ago, sometime last month, that we actually did an exact agenda of what I do with my team, where the agenda is give me a win, give me any win that you've had in the last 7 days. And then next agenda is share with me your favorite conversation, because all wealth is built through conversation. And so share with me the dialogue of what you're experiencing in your life. How are you saying it? How are you, how would you relay someone else saying it? Because it matters. And then last but not least, short-term goal. What are you achieving? What outcome are you going to arrive at in the next 7 to 14 days, 2 weeks, even 1 to 2 weeks? The reason I do that is because you start stacking your wins. You start looking for them. It's interesting. When you start looking for wins, all of a sudden you start finding them. It's kind of a unique phenomenon there. And so with that credibility 0.1, all of a sudden, every week, if you are required, obligated to share how you are winning every single week, all of a sudden you're like, man, I got stories, because I'm forced to share a win every week. And now all of a sudden you do this for 5 weeks in a row. It's like, man, I just shared 5 wins because you obligated yourself to do so. And it's funny because I have some students that they're like, oh, I know Dane's going to ask me. I know Dane's going to ask me what my win was. And so I have to go make one. I have to go create a win, because I like them fresh. I like continuous winning over every single. Don't share with me a win that you had 2 weeks ago. I want to win in the last 7 days. And so obligate yourself to start stacking your wins, to start stacking your stories. And it's interesting because that, again, is what, let's call that marker training. If you can get good at sharing your wins, your no's, your best thing since sliced bread stories with other people, and practice that, again, people will beg you to hold the marker and present in front of their audience, present in front of their guests. They will literally beg you, because they're like, yeah, I want my audience in front of this person, because they're sharing and spreading excitement and good information that is actually useful and gets the puppy dog head tailed, if you will. Okay. Anyway, so stack your wins, stack your stories, get used to sharing them with people. Now let's talk about the audience thing, because like Brigham said, now I've been invited to speak, oh my goodness, all over the place, inside Renatus and out. All of the things I've said, like, honestly, are probably the reason, because excitement is contagious. And when you share good information in a way that, instead of it's like pounding the chest, but more like, look at this, you want to do that. Like, this is a duplicatable story. Like, if I share this story with you, you might be like, hey, I'll have what he's having. I want to do that too. right? So you start sharing the story in that kind of a way that instead of beating the chest, it's like, do this. Get your bread sliced like what I'm doing. Anyway, you guys are picking up what I put down. It leads to the more people you talk to, the more people will reach out and say, I want you in front of my people. And so I want to share a couple of stories. I had one guy. I love the personal development space. A lot of you guys know that about me. I love the 3-day like personal, what do they call that? The 3-day seminar for personal development, where you get up and you do the rah and you yell with the whole crowd. It got me out of my shell to attend those kind of events. And it was funny because the more I would attend those and I would just share little things with just like the people that I was networking with, right? Not necessarily the presenter. Eventually, it got back to some of these presenters like, man, where'd you find this Dane guy that comes to your events? Love that guy. And then my name started getting passed around, not because they're like, yeah, Dane's like selling everybody this Renatus thing. Because in some cases, I mean, I would get a bunch of sales out of it in Renatus, but people were actually getting excited and matching my excitement as well. And so it got back to some of the presenters. And eventually I had a presenter say, Dane, I'm doing an event in several months. Will you just come and, your reputation precedes you. I don't know who you are, but your reputation precedes you. And so will you come and speak at my next event? And I was just like, I've never been asked that before because I just spoken at Renata stuff. And so everything I'm sharing with you, start doing, because eventually, organically, people will ask you, will you please hold a marker in front of my audience? And I will tell you that when you get invited to be in front of the room, instead of just, being the guy that's like with everybody else, like you're sharing you're blowing your nose, you're getting excited, and they're just like, yeah, I want to talk to you. Like I literally would share things with people when I was just an attendee. And those are the places, because I paid to be there, they paid to be there. Those are the only stories I have where people got introduced to me, immediately trusted me because we're at the same event, and bought Renatus in less than 7 days cash. Like those are the only stories, or those are the only type of leads that I have, those kind of stories that they just bought it because they were so ready. But I'll tell you, when that gentleman for that event said, Dane, will you hold the marker and stand in front of all of my guests, because it sounds like you're sharing good information. Oh, it was like cheating. It was too easy, because here I am standing in front of a lot of people that have nothing to do with Renatus, have nothing to do with real estate even. They're there for rah, hooray, like I can do this. Personal development type stuff. And I get invited to come up and speak a little bit about some real estate and some, hoorah, yaha, get up and dance sprinkled in there, but talking, but then, with icing on the top, real estate. Man, I had people for days lining up to say, I want to talk to you. I need to talk to you. Okay. And so now, sure, that's a big thing, but let me talk about what happened last week. I didn't get the marker to necessarily get put on a pedestal. I went to an event. If anybody's ever heard of a BNI, Business Networking International, I think is the acronym, but BNI meeting, I got invited to be a guest at a BNI, not a guest speaker, like just a guest. And I noticed that this was like guest day for this BNI, which was totally fine. And so I was not put on any kind of pedestal at all. In fact, most of the people that were there were also guests that they were trying to basically recruit BNI members, which is fine. That's what we do. We invite people to events and we want them to become a part of us. And so it was funny because I felt right at home. I was like, yeah, I know what's going on here. I'm, I can see the signs that they're gearing up to get ready for the sales pitch and get the hoorah and all that stuff. And I didn't know that they were going to do this, but they actually went around the room and had all of the guests. They gave us like 15 to 20 seconds to just introduce ourselves. And so I was like, oh, they're going to give me a marker. I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I thought I was just going to have to like, like my original strategy, like just try to get as many phone numbers the meeting after the meeting to meet people because they weren't going to give us any time. But instead, they were like, no, we want to know all the guests. And so they went around the room and I was just like, yes, this is going to be awesome. Instead of, because it was so funny because most of the people were there just like, yeah, my name's Jim and I started a business. It's named business name and we're helping people do things in my business name. I was just like, oh boy, this is going to be fun. And so I get up and I just start getting excited and, tell a little joke, try to make them laugh. And I'm trying to remember what it was that I said that just got people, got them off their heels, basically pattern interrupt. If I remember right, I think it was, I know I stood up and was like, oh, thanks to the person who invited me. He didn't tell me though, getting like, I got like angry, but he didn't tell me how good this was actually going to be. And so all of a sudden people are like, like, what's he going to do? And then I went into the, like, how awesome this was going to, how of an event this was going to be. And then I just go into, instead of saying, they don't even care what my name is, but I probably said my name and was just like, let's see, what did I say? I remember when I got into doing what I'm doing today in investing in real estate. And after doing only a couple of deals, that I knew that I wanted to go with many, because if I went with many, I would go far, because many hands make light work. And there's enough real estate in the world for anybody who wants to can do it. And so the only reason I'm in business is because I want to help another 1,000, and of course, now this is where I can beat my chest, sure. But I wouldn't have said this if it wasn't true. If I was earlier on in my journey, could restructure this any way you want. But word for word, what I said was I knew I wanted to go with many. And so to date, I've helped over 1,000 people get into an actual real estate deal. I'm not a realtor, because there were realtors there. So I had to say, I'm not a realtor, but I've helped 1,000 people get into an actual real estate deal and make money. And my biggest dream is to help that second 1,000. And that's what we're working on today, is getting another 1,000 people into a real estate deal. And I sat down and I was just like, here it comes. This was at the end of the day, of course. They had done all their presentations and their sales pitch and, for people to join the BNI. And everybody got up. Many people made their break for the door to get out of there, because this, the sales pitch was basically done. It's like, hey, yeah, come sign up. And I just sat in my chair because I knew it was going to happen. When somebody gives you the marker like that, and you share something that gives people the puppy dog head tilt, they flock to you. And so I actually stayed sitting. Everyone else got up and I just sat there and waited. And sure enough, people started lining up to talk to me at the end of this BNI group. I had realtors showing up. I had loan officers. I had contractors. In fact, and this is why I love, in fact, I think Brigham, you hit on this a lot. The meeting after the meeting. I knew this event was only going to go for an hour and a half. I blocked off 3 hours because I knew I was going to talk to people afterwards, and talk to people afterwards. I did. I talked for an hour and a half after this meeting was over. just from, they gave me the marker. And so I'm a trained professional networker, right? I blow my nose in public and get excited about it. And I had contractors coming up saying, oh my gosh, like I've always wanted to do it for myself. I love that kind of Renata student, to be honest. I've always wanted to do it for myself and instead of doing contracting for all these other people and I know how to do everything in the house because I've built houses for other people. And anyway, realtors come, people I chatted, like I said, I was there for as long as the meeting itself lasted, for the meeting after the meeting, getting to people who were lining up, like literally people were waiting to talk to me after this event. Not even the people that were held on the pedestal, if you will. So in those moments, if you get the chance to hold a marker in somebody else's event, again, I'm not even talking like to be held on the pedestal. If people are going around the room like that, because you're going to other networking events outside of Renatus, which you should be doing. If you really take this seriously, you're going to go to all kinds of networking events, because then I was the real estate guy, not the realtor guy, because everyone has a realtor guy. I was the real estate guru in the room, because it wasn't, we weren't there for real estate. BNI is very generic. Any business is what they're trying to recruit. Anybody doing anything, any business industry related. And so I became the real estate guru in my 25-second marker allotment, if you will, which really was just designed to introduce myself, right? So be ready for stuff like that you could literally in 25 seconds get somebody to tilt their head because you're excited and you blow your nose in public in a way that people are like, okay. And, I saw people like writing down when I said what I said, I saw people like writing down like, oh, I'm going to go talk to this guy afterwards. It works. Be excited, blow your nose in public. Every chance you get, even if you're not held on a pedestal, if they just let you introduce yourself, share your goal right? Nobody cares about your company name. Sorry. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what your name is. Sorry. In those moments that they don't know who you are, but they care why you're there. And if you're there for them, right? Notice a lot of people were there for themselves, my company, what I'm doing. But if you're there for the other people in the room, and your goals show that they are, people will flock to you and they will be lining up to talk to you, because when you share what your goal is, and your goal is to do things for other people. Renatus is like the perfect business. We help other people make money. Like, what a cool business to be in, and a cool thing to be able to say. People will be lining up to talk to you. Not because they learned your name, not because they learned your business name, no. Because they're like, I'll have what he's having. That sounds amazing. Puppy dog head tilt. And they were obviously excited about obviously you're excited about what you're doing. So even if you don't have the opportunity to be like, hey, come and do a big presentation for my audience, just go to networking events. They'll give you a marker for 30 seconds. Oftentimes, like the BNI. Pat says, did I join the BNI? I'm still trying to decide if I want to. Because just that one attendance, I got a bunch of leads that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I hope we have enough bandwidth to just handle everything, that influx of leads. And if I join, I'm going to take it seriously. I'm going to go all out, and I will climb to the point where people are like, Dane, take the marker in front of everybody and do a presentation to add value to everybody. You know, I'll basically, if I join BNI, it's only because I will drive my way to, I don't want to say the top, but I will drive my way to adding value enough that they're like, we're going to hold you on a pedestal, Dane. We want you to present in front of the whole group and do a blip, whatever. And so I'm like, oh, do I want to take that on right now? I'm still trying to decide. But for now, I might just be like, hey, I'm going to go be a visitor as many BNIs as I possibly can because there's no commitment there. And oh, awesome. Go meet a whole bunch of people across the valley. Anyway, I think you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. And I hope this is helping you. Even wherever you're at, I'm hoping this is helping you. If you're like, you know what, Dan, I'm like credibility 0.1, that's fine. Everyone starts there. Start stacking those stories and start working on that excitement. I would say the excitement's more important than the stories. The stories will come because of excitement. But yeah, I hope that helps. Get the marker. However it takes. I just gave you guys multiple ways. From beginner to professional marker holder, if you will. Right. Any questions on this? I saw there was a bunch of comments that come in. Sorry, I wasn't quite watching all of them. Okay, cool. Questions, comments. If not, we'll jump into, we're after the hour or after the top of the hour. And so we can jump into who's got real estate stuff.
I do.
Want some help? I love tomorrow's questions. You got a hard one for me?
In my mind, it was a little challenging, but I don't know how hard it'll be for you.
No worries. Give me your best shot. Let's do it.
You got it. So I had an interesting experience. I decided kind of last minute to sell my lake house for a variety of reasons, and I have never listed with an agent before. So to be honest, it was a whirlwind and I felt completely overwhelmed. And to be honest, I don't ever want to deal with an agent again. So I'm going to become one.
You're going to become an agent?
I am, because
that's cool.
Mainly to like, because I'm also like dishing out this guy kind of a lot of money, and I think I could mitigate some of that by becoming one, even if I don't. We'll see. Anyway, I'm still sorting it out, but it was a lot because every time I even mentioned the fact that I was selling a house, I felt like I was being vulture. Like I had all these, like I was being attacked because all these people wanted to list my property, and it was like, what just happened? So I just wasn't expecting it. So like, I'll just leave it at that. But, and then I made a decision to go with one guy, and then this other guy was like, why would you do that? Like, I'm a local here. I know all the nuances.
They were like fighting. They're like fighting over you. Oh my gosh.
And every time I made a decision, the other one would counteract like the reason why I made the decision. So I was like, what is happening right now? And then one of my best friends got involved. He's like, no, go with this lady. I'm an agent, or she's an agent with me. Like, and I just got like,
it is a dog eat dog community. Realtoring. No, I call it realtoring. Realtoring. It's tough to be a realtor.
I would never want to be a realtor.
Scarcity mindset. A lot of scarcity mindset in realtoring. But yeah, so what's the punchline? What happened?
So all right. So, and my question's coming. So I initially made a decision to go with this guy that I knew from a business setting, similar to a BNI group, for quite a while now. And I was very happy with that. And then this other guy that is local, because it's a lake house community, so it's got some nuances that the other guy didn't know, came in and was like, but he doesn't know about the lake association. He doesn't know about this and that, which were valid points. So last minute, I decided to change and go with the local guy, and the guy that I know for a while got mad. He's like, I'm an attorney for 20 years. Like who's better than me? And I just had to stop responding to people and stop telling them what I'm doing, because I got so anyway. So I picked the guy that was local. mainly because he just did a flip around the corner. He's listed properties all over the street in the area. So to be honest, I didn't like him as much from a personality perspective, but he just did know the area, and that's how I knew him, because he did a flip in the area. So, and he kept following up with me just to see out what was going on. But I don't know. I still don't know if I made the right decision. Like, I really like the guy that I initially went with, personality wise, and just he's a lot more of a people person, but he didn't know like the lake association. He didn't know that I have access to a beachfront. Like, and that's really important. You know what I mean? When you're selling a lake
Yeah.
house, to know that stuff. So that really, when it came down to it, was kind of my deciding factor. And I don't know if I made the right decision. It just got listed last night, but it was, so I guess I would love to hear a little bit more about, like, and
Hiring
then
realtors.
yes.
I have a comment on that. This is Michelle.
Go ahead, Michelle.
So I've been an agent for 20 years, and it's a good thing, and then it's a hard thing when you're being an agent and an investor, because there's two different hats, and there's a lot of disclosing that you have to do. So that's a real big decision to make. And another thing is when, kind of like you said, you were bombarded with all these agents, just tell them, put it out on the table. I need to interview different agents and let them know like that. I want to interview different ones, because I need to know who can handle the situation that I have, especially in agents that are investors. They know a lot more. You know what I mean? And so you're going to be like, let me interview, and then I'll decide, and I'll call you back and let you know who I decided I wanted to choose, because they know this area. They know this. I'm looking for this kind of agent. Maybe I can use you down the road for a different area, for something different. Does that make sense? Kind of? Does that help?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the first thing that comes to my mind, thank you, Michelle, as well. The first thing that comes to my mind is I feel like there's two different camps that or let's call it pawns. There's two different pawns that you're going to shop for in a realtor. On the one side, you have, let's call it full commission realtors, professionals, people that know their craft very, very well, right? So that's one camp. The other camp, or the other pond, is going to be, let's call it budget realtors. Newer guys don't have a lot of experience under their belt, but you can get some buku discounts. In fact, like I'm talking, I've sold many houses where I only paid the realtor $1,000. And in fact, listed house just, let's see, what's today? February or Wednesday? Listed house yesterday. And I'm paying this. Now this guy is a professional, but I talked him down to $3,000 flat fee on a $450,000, $465,000 house. And so let's talk about the two different camps: full service, full commission, professional realtor that knows their craft. In my opinion, I think you did the right thing, where if you're going full service, full commission, you want the guy that knows the area, knows your house, if you will. But let's say that's, in your situation, it's a unique property. Let's say that you have a normal house that's cookie cutter, whatever. Then yeah, maybe that person wasn't as desirable. And so instead of saying you want the local guy, I would say you want the guy that appeals to the client you want. Right. So let me illustrate that for just a moment. So on your case, unique property, knows the area. And so he's going to appeal to the client that you want in the way that they're probably shopping for vacation homes, whether for themselves or for investment, doesn't matter. They're shopping for that scene, if you will. And so that was probably the best guy to go for. Now, like in my case, let's say the absolute best client that I want, because I typically do like cookie cutter track homes. I might hire the guy that was the other guy that he's like, I'm a real estate attorney. I know, in my case, I know seller financing backwards and forwards. In fact, I own seller financing properties, properties that I have seller financed. If I'm going full service realtor And that's the client that I want, right? So what I'm saying is hire the realtor with your client in mind first, especially if you're going full service, full commission. You want them to appeal to that type of client. Now, of course, there's going to be a gap because your buyer is probably going to have their agent, but you want your realtor to be able to negotiate the type of client that you want. So you want seller finance clients, find that full service kind of realtor. You want vacation rental, unique, lake house type thing, find that kind of full service realtor. And so I hope that's making sense. Full service, start with your client in mind first when you're hiring your realtor. Now, on the flip side, budget, I basically just said, you know what? I know how to talk to my client. I know how to negotiate, and I'm willing to do it. And so I went and just found some kid that he had probably done one realtoring transaction in his realtoring career. Didn't know and it was probably for family. In fact, I can almost guarantee that it was probably family, like his own parents or something like that, just a young guy, and said, cool, you're going to list every one of my houses for $1,000 flat fee. And everything goes through me. I'm probably going to be calling the buyer's agent myself instead of having that realtor. And so I saved myself the money, but I basically became the professional. And that was actually the only reason I did not become an agent, was because I was like, I could pay this guy $1,000 just to do the paperwork side. And I do the important stuff, the negotiating, the back and forth, the talking, because I'm okay with that. I know most agents are like, oh, no, I'm here so you don't have to talk. Like, no, with that agent that I paid him $1,000, I was like, no, I'm talking to them. I'm negotiating. You're just here for paperwork. You're a transaction coordinator. And so effectively, I got all the benefits of being an agent without actually being an agent. Because, I mean, let's face it, $1,000 flat fee, like, I didn't have to do all the paperwork. Great. Grateful for that kind of, I didn't have to have Michelle's point, I didn't have to do all the disclosures of, oh, I'm an owner agent selling my own, all that stuff. None of it. So that's why I say I got all the benefits of being an agent, but I never became an agent. And that even works in reverse on the buying side. Couple of interesting stories. Same thing. If you're buying and you're full service, find the agent that knows how to get what you want, that knows seller financing or investment or flipping, whatever. Full service, yeah, go hire that buyer's agent, because technically you don't pay the buyer's agent, the seller does anyway. But again, now let's talk about the other camp, the budget realtor. I would tell my agent that, the one that was on my payroll, basically, that I was like, hey, I'll pay $1,000 a pop, but I'll do the negotiating. And this is where I say, like, I got all the benefits of being an agent without having to be one. I would tell them, like, all right, let's go talk them down to our bottom dollar. What can we buy this house for? In fact, there was a house, some of you might know where Tooele, Utah is. We were buying a house out in Tooele, and I wanted that house. And so I had that agent write me up an offer that, and I basically wrote it up. I basically gave him all the things, and he just filled in the blanks for me. And I said, all right, they're asking, I can't remember. Let's just to illustrate the point, I'll just throw numbers out. But they're asking $350, and I said, go ahead and offer cash, do $68,000 of earnest money. I wanted this house hard. Like, I basically knew I wanted to stand. This is when the market was really hot as well, and so cash offers were like a dime a dozen. So I was like, okay, we're gonna stand out. So I had them say, okay, they're asking $350. Go ahead and offer. I think it was like $335 or something like that. It was well, not insanely lower, but lower, even though this was in a crazy hot market, and I guarantee they were getting full price offers. But I said, go ahead and offer like $335 in all in cash. Today is Wednesday. We will close Tuesday next week, right? So like 6 days. And do $68,000 of earnest money. and let's see what they say. And they took our offer, 68,000. And so here's how I got the benefit of not being the agent, or sorry, basically of being an agent, but without having to be an agent. So they accepted the offer, 335. They said, yeah, you'll close that fast. Yeah, $68,000 of money. Sure, we'll go with you because you guys are going to close, obviously. And so beat out all of our competition in both price, in price as well, just because we stood out. But here's where things got cool. I'm not an agent, and so I can't go in and say, oh, give me the agent commission, right? Because that's why a lot of people become an agent, is like, oh yeah, every time I buy a house, I can discount it by 3% above, or better than the next guy. So we got our price locked in at 335, and then they were going to pay a buyer's commission anyway. But then we renegotiated in an addendum after the fact, because we got them down to their bottom dollar. And then I had my agent send in an addendum saying, oh, I know you guys are offering 3% commission to the buyer's agent. I'm going to go ahead and give that as a gift to my buyer, Dane, right? So my agent said, I'm going to give that a gift of my commission to my buyer. So we're going to take the purchase price down 3% from the 335 plus $1,000. And so so again, like I said, my agent, I would give him $1,000 a pop to do that. And so then here, I'm not a head math guy. Let's do the math. So 335 times 0.97 plus $1,000. So I got it for 326, right? So listed 350, negotiated down to their bottom dollar, and then got it all under contract and then sent over an addendum. Because for them, this doesn't change anything. It doesn't change one iota how much the seller is going to net out for my realtor to go back and do that, right? I hope some of you guys are like light bulb turning on here. And so I was able to negotiate, effectively a $24,000 discount extra off of this property by doing that method. And I'm not the agent. I'm not an agent, I should say. Right. And so there's the two camps. The full service, make sure that you have your client in mind, or the type of deal that you want first. You want a specialist if you're paying full service realtors. But on the other side, you can basically get the benefit of being a realtor without having to be a realtor. You just have to know what you're doing. You have to know how to negotiate a you need to know your way around a real estate purchase contract if you're going to hire the budget realtor. That's probably the important part. But it takes put it next to your nightstand and read it 2 times, and you've got it down pretty good. The local, grab the local one in your area and actually read, like, by show of hands. Maybe I shouldn't do that because what are the statistics? By show of hands, most people don't even respond. But ask yourself this question: have you actually read the real estate purchase contract in your area? Let's call it cover to cover, top to bottom. Have you read every single word inside of the real estate purchase contract that is widely used in your area? Yes or no? If the answer is no, you know what to do. Get to know that real estate purchase contract in your area. I have read the Utah one, top to bottom, every single word, and even like I don't have it right here next to me, but I even have the version that I printed out, and I took a blue pen, and I marked it up. This is what this is. Oh, this is what, and basically had my own my notes, if you will, next to all the paragraphs. And so I know the REPSI. I know the Utah REPSI very, very well. And which, like to Tamara's point, if she goes and becomes an agent for herself, she's going to have to do that anyway to become an agent. But by, again, back to the 2 camps, full service realtor, sure, you probably don't even need to know what that is. But if you're like, hey, I want discounts, you're going to have to get to know that real estate purchase contract. And like I just showed you, I've been able to save thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands at this point on realtor fees without even becoming an agent. Like effectively, I've been able to get the same benefits as if I had become an agent, but I never had to become one. If this is making any sense at all. And again, I'm not advocating one over the other. In some cases, I actually do like the full service. In some cases, I might not. But you don't have to become an agent. But at the same time, I'm not saying don't become an agent, because there's a lot of people. In fact, I'm seeing like a movement. A lot of the people that I joined Renatus with, you know, plus or minus a couple of years, a lot of those people actually ended up becoming agents. A lot of them, people that were holding the marker when I joined Renatus, people that were holding that, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be like you someday. A lot of those people have since become an agent for probably the same reason Tamara is thinking of becoming an agent, where they're just like, the competence, the competence. Oh my goodness. Like nobody knows it like Tamara does. And she's right. Tamara's not as educated. Most realtors aren't, right? In fact, Michelle talked about that. Like the investor agent knows more than the average agent, but the investor Renatus agent knows even more than that, even that typical investor agent. And so it's like a superpower. Literally being Renatus educated as a realtor is like having a superpower above all other agents, bar none. And so, yeah, so I hope that's helping. None of those are wrong or right. The full service realtor, the budget realtor, or becoming an agent yourself. I don't want to say any of those are wrong or right. It depends on your situation and what you want. And so I hope that makes sense. But yeah, follow-up questions on the realtor or anything else. Go ahead.
Sure, I understand kind of your process. So when you have the agent just do your paperwork, 9 times out of 10, what you're negotiating is the seller finance deal, correct?
Not necessarily. Like we bought flips that way too. Like, you know, so for example, like let's say in that case it was a seller finance situation, but let's say I'm buying a fix and flip. Same scenario. Let's say my fix and flip is I'm buying it for $350. We negotiate down our bottom dollar and then take off the buyer's commission and basically give it to me as the buyer. I mean, imagine how many, you know, especially somebody that has taken the Renatus classes seriously and has made lots of offers. I've made so many offers that never got accepted. But imagine, you know, going back to all the offers that I've made that didn't get accepted, or I just couldn't make it work. I mean, $10,000, like in this scenario, that could have made the deal. You know, maybe the profit was like $18,000 in my scenario, and I was like, I can't do it. So we need to go negotiate it down even further. And the seller was just like, no, we won't. And in many cases, that extra, you know, $9,000, $10,000, that would have made the deal. And so this even works, you know, I'm talking on the budget buyer's agent. You get the benefit of being the agent. You get that extra 3% 3% discount, if you will, because you have a budget buyer's agent, if that makes sense. And so even in the fix and flip, you know, I'm getting it $10,000, or, you know, I know in Tamara, I know in your neck of the wood, you know, my properties in Utah are like 300,000, 400,000 max. I know in your neck of the woods, it's probably double, sometimes even triple that. And so that's tens of thousands in some cases if you're hiring a budget buyer's agent. That is, and you have to do it just that way, where you make your offer, you get the bottom dollar that the seller will accept, and then you drop the commission off and give it back to yourself. Because if you do that in the beginning, they start playing the mind of, oh, what does Tamara deserve or not? She's already getting the buyer's commission, so we're only going to go here. All right, no. Get the seller to the bottom dollar and then do an addendum after the fact that the agent is giving the buyer or you that commission towards the purchase. And so, yeah, hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does. But how are you? So let me just make sure I'm clear. So when you're, all right, you got the seller down to the bottom dollar. And then when you're giving yourself the buyer's commission, is it because the arrangement you made with the agent is that you're just paying them a flat fee?
Here, let me illustrate this. Can I share my screen, Brigham? And this will just take a second. We can wrap it up because we just hit 9:30. All right, so share. Let's just do my Safari screen. So I'm going to log into the MLS. Again, I'm not an agent, but check this out. I actually have my own login because I am my assistant's assistant, right? When I log in, it's going to say, welcome, Dane Clark. Dane, so look at this. I have MLS access and it says Dane Clark, and I'm not an agent. So this is perfectly legal. I am my assistant's assistant. Anybody ever watch what's that TV series, The Office? Where he's like the assistant director or whatever. I am Dwight Schrute. Anyway, so I have my own login because I am my assistant's assistant, and I can pull properties, and so let's see if I can just like search any listing. Let's see. Hang on. I need to find just like a random listing. So let's just go to redfin.com and let's just search Salt Lake City. And let's just find a listing. Okay. Oh, let's pick this one. Okay. And so MLS number, it's going to be down here. Sometimes it's up here. There it is. So we're going to take this MLS number. We're going to go into, and this doesn't show up on Redfin, but MLS number, I scroll down to the bottom and they have right here, if I zoom in, so here's the listing agent, Ryan Cannon, BAC, or in other words, if I buy this house and I bring my realtor, the seller dictates what my realtor gets paid. The seller decides that. So they are offering on this particular house 2.5% buyer's commission. And so any realtor I hire is going to get 2.5% of the purchase price. So let's come back to here. And so purchase price is oh, this just got listed today. Okay. And so let's say I want this house. And so I come in and they're asking 825, and I come in and say, hey, I'll pay 800,000. We'll pay cash. We'll close. What's today? Wednesday? We'll close on Monday, right? Let's say I really, really want this house and I've got all my contractors lined up, hey, we might actually want this house. What's the inside look like? It's been kind of updated. So never mind. We don't want this house. But let's say we did. Let's say this is, inherited piece of junk, needs a lot of work. This could use a little bit of updating, but I mean, they're not going to accept a discount. They probably feel that this house is really well done. But regardless, pretend with me for a moment that this needs, I'm buying fix and flips. Okay. And so I come in and it's a pretty good deal at 800,000. I would never buy a $800,000 fix and flip, just putting that out there. But again, roll with me here. So I say, okay, let's get it for 800,000. We'll close on Monday, right? Can your title agent work that fast? I hope so, because we'll close. Here's $50,000 of earnest money. I would not make it hard earnest money, meaning if I back out on Monday, even I get my earnest money back. That's one of the tricks that I like to do is say, oh, due diligence goes to Monday, but settlement also Monday. And so if I back out on Monday, I get on my $50,000 earnest money back, right? So I'm above the pack because above average earnest money, purchase price, closing Monday, like they're going to sell this house. Okay. So we go $800,000 and they're like, okay, yeah, $800,000. Now they are offering, and I'm not sure if you guys can see my calculator here on the screen, but just bear with me. I'll speak as I do the calculator. So I'm going to do 800,000 times 0.025, because back down to here, they're offering a 2.5 BAC. That's $20,000. So let's say we go under contract. They're like, yeah, 800,000, we'll discount it 25 grand and we'll close Monday. Great. Sounds good. Then we're under contract. We send in an addendum and say, oh, by the way, my agent, instead of taking because again, the seller set the BAC, the buyer's commission, right? The 2.5. I didn't set that. The seller set that. And they advertised it right here. And so we basically say, oh, this BAC that you guys are offering to my agent, the buyer's agent, we're going to discount that down to $1,000. So now we're going to take an $800,000 purchase price. We're going to discount it by, let's see, 2.5% of 800,000 is 20,000. So we're basically going to discount it by $19,000. So now my purchase price goes from 800 to 781, right? And so on this house, in this scenario, we just went from 825 down to 781 by doing that method. And I'm not an agent, but just got basically the benefit of is as if I was an agent. And so, and so basically you can go to any house. So let's pick on this one. Oh, this one's a foreclosure ad. I don't want that one. Back to here. So let's pick this house, go down to,
all right, we'll get into it, but that is the first gel
down to the MLS, go back to the MLS, search another, right? And everybody's different. Every listing is different. Looks like these guys are offering 2.75, right? Most common is somewhere between 2.5 and 3, but then I can go in as same thing. I say, okay, we'll buy it. So yeah, this is in my price range. Okay, yeah, we'll buy it for 430. We'll close Monday. $50,000 earnest money. Okay, yeah, right. Now 465, or no, sorry, what did I say? 430. So now I do 430 times 0.0275. That's almost $12,000. And so let's say we get it down to 430 and then we drop it by $11,000. Now we're at 429. So that's, I mean, right there, that's 40,000. There's your profit margin, essentially above the next guy. If you're doing it like this with, again, a budget buyer's agent. Now you better know what you're doing, because your buyer's agent is not going to be there to help you. If you're only paying $1,000, like your buyer's agent that's going to accept $1,000 like that is, like I said, probably the guy that just became an agent or the gal that just became an agent, and he or she helped like mom buy her house, and they've done like one transaction, right? So that was the kid that I brought on and said, hey, I'll help you. That kid is now a broker, because I funneled so many of these budget transactions through his license that he became a broker because of it. And I think he kind of feels like he cheated, because when people are like, oh my gosh, you're a broker, like he kind of has to say, well, I made $1,000 a pop to do all those transactions. And so all those transactions were not full service commissions, but whatever. I got him started in his realtoring business because he got the numbers out there, right? So does that make sense? Let's say, I know we're 9:40, we got to wrap it up. But this is good information. Like this could save people tens, in fact, in my own case, hundreds of thousands of dollars by not even being a realtor, and I get all the benefits.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, you said that you offer more for earnest money, and you said that even when you do the you put it for Monday and you back off, you don't lose the money. So when did you put the money? You put the money the same day or 2 days in advance, or?
Yeah. So here,
I got confused on that.
Yeah, no, this is the Utah REPSI. So let's say that I typed in $50,000 right here. And so I do $50,000 of earnest money. And then in that scenario, we're like, oh, let's close on Tuesday. What date is that? Today is the 28th. So what did I say? Monday. So I'm going to put in here due diligence deadline. Monday is 3/4/2024. But I'm also going to do settlement deadline of 3/4/2024. for 2024. So by doing this one thing right here, I can back out on Monday. Let's say I don't want to buy the house because we try to renegotiate whatever. And I back out on Monday and I had put $50,000 of earnest money down. I'm getting it back. No questions asked because I backed out before the due diligence deadline. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And so I protect it. No, I mean, let's say I did this and I did 3/5/2024, then I just have to back out before 3/4 to get my $50,000 earnest money back. I typically just make those two the same numbers, so I don't have to like remember like two different dates of, oh shoot, we need to back. Oh wait, when do we need to back? When do we need to make a for sure decision? When do we need to make a for sure decision? If that makes sense. And honestly, like when I do stuff like this, I don't even send the $50,000 of earnest because look at this. It says agrees to deliver no later than 4 calendar days after acceptance. And so here we are Wednesday, and I say 50,000. I don't have to deliver it until Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Banks aren't open. Neither are title companies. And so in cases that I've done things like this, I don't even send the earnest money in until we are buying the house anyway. Only because of how this fall. But let's say my closing date was like on Thursday of next week, then sure, they'd be like, hey Dane, where's the earnest money? But I would just make sure my due diligence was also Thursday so I could back out, if that makes sense. Anyway, we're 9:45, so we gotta wrap it up. Great questions though. I hope this was useful to you guys. Both sides. Carry the marker in any way possible, even if it's just introducing yourself. And how to save tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in your real estate investing career without having to be an agent. But at the same time, there is a place for full service agents. So, all right, guys, love you all. Go have conversations. It is the key to all wealth. And I will see you guys